I believe you got the talent and passion to become a great digital artist, and it's only a matter of time and practice to achieve it. For that reason, I decided to create the biggest digital painting tutorial channel in YouTube. It's easy, detailed, and personalized. Subscribe. Don't you want to be part of it? Hey guys, what's up? My name is Jesus Conde, and today we're going to be making skin. The first step is to understand the shape. For this, we're going to be making little lines like vertical and horizontally. When you do this kind of thing, you understand how the light will react, how the light will affect the surface. So it's actually a good way to understand what's going to happen with the shadows and everything. When you take your time doing this, trust me, it's gonna be like really easy later. So right now I'm just doing some horizontal lines, and these lines should bend, like depending on the shape and how you see it, they should bend like if you were doing it on a real person. The best example I can give you is grab a ball or an egg, and you can make some lines with a little pencil, so you can understand what I'm trying to say here. Like, is the best physical way that I can give you an example. Right now, I'm just trying to study. Okay, if these are my lines, the horizontal lines. This is how the shape bends. I'm using these little points or where I think the light should be hit the most. Like that's where my highlights are going to be. If you do this before every painting, I promise that you will get far. Like you will achieve better results at the end. And right now I'm just trying to think where are the cast shadow going to be. Just few ones. Trust me, if you take your time doing this before every painting, when you start the painting process, it's going to be a lot easier. Right now, we are just going to make some basic coloring. If you notice, I made a palette of colors. That palette is going to be available on the additional content with all the extra additional content, of course. But this is one of the features that are going to be there in case that you just want it. You can create one by yourself. There's no problem at all. I created this palette just using pictures as reference, doing some tests, in grabbing with the eyedropper. That way, every time I'm going to do a painting of a skin, I have my palette of skin colors. At this level, at this stage, you just have to like fill all the line art. There's no rocket science in this part. Just try to fill all the line art, and you'll be okay. Notice that in the top corner on the right, there's a little link with a little face image. That's the magazine I'm working on. Please check that out after you watching this video. There you'll find a lot of tips and tricks, and 2 other videos about how to paint skin that are exclusive to those who get the magazine. Okay, so this part is done. I'm going to move to the shadow occlusion. I try to break it in different steps so you guys can understand better all the process. Some of the process you're going to be making it and you're going to think, okay, this is going wrong, this is not like skin at all. But I promise you, if you follow the steps, it's going to be awesome. maybe you have some trouble with the in the first times, but I have to actually do some of the tutorials of skin several times. And if you have seen my old tutorial of skin, you'll notice a huge difference in the material. Like this one is a bit more real, a bit more realistic than the first one. And it's because I try to understand how the skin reacts and everything, and I try to make it better. Okay, so now what I'm doing is just I took the shadow color from the palette, and now I'm just sketching. You have to always think like you're sketching. Create a new layer, and right now I'm sketching the shadows. Once I have a sketch of the shadow, I can now start to blend the colors. It's really important that you take your time doing this kind of thing, like sketching the shadows, because if you start right away to do the shadows, like blending the colors right away, it's going to be really difficult later. So I do recommend that you take your time doing this kind of thing. Sketch the shadow first, where you think it's going to be darker because of the turn of the skin of the material or whatever you are painting, the shape. And once you get like a real how do I say this? Like once you got it right, like okay, now I'm comfortable with with my result of my sketch. This is how the shadows I think supposed to be. This is where it should be. Give it a little more of time and think if object is on top of the other, is going to cast a shadow here, stuff like that. For example, at the beginning of the video, I did the understanding of the shape. I didn't think of the shadow that was cast by the breast of the female on top of the shadow that is on top of the arm, her left arm. Now that I'm actually drawing the shadows, I noticed that okay, there should be a shadow here. And if I didn't do the sketch of the shadow, I wouldn't even notice that, and I will just start painting um, shadows whatever I thought there would be. You have to make this little sketch first. Now, of course, I'm starting to blend the colors. For those who knows that how I work, you know how I blend the colors. But for those who are watching this by the first time, I blend the colors by repetition. I just get put the brush in a low opacity and make strokes over and over on top. I make a stroke of one percentage of opacity, let's say about 20%, and then I do another stroke on top. Of course, if I do two strokes, it's going to be 40%. If I do three strokes, it's going to be 60% and stuff like that. That way, I can easily control how much intensity I want just by making strokes one on top of the other. Think of it like if you were painting with chalk. If you pass the chalk a few times on the same place, it's going to be darker. And of course, that is also you can add the precision, the accurate. I don't know what the word is, but I hope accurateness exists. The accurateness of the pen pressure that gives the Wacom tablet, which is really useful. If you don't have one, you could achieve kind of the same result with this technique. You just have to later take the colors that you already blend with the eyedropper and keep like painting on top of them. So you create like you create like middle tones between the tones you already have. Here I was trying to um, get it a little bit soft with the blur. Um, yeah, it's kind of useful, although I didn't like too much. Um, no, not because the result was bad. It's actually really good that you can help yourself doing using the blur and everything. But my concern was that people thinks that because it's made on the computer, it's easier. Um, well, actually, it is easier, but it's like they have to spend less time, and it's not. If you paint traditionally, you'll know that some things just takes time, but a lot of time, and you have to be like aware of that you cannot get really great results quick. But trust me, even that you think that you are taking a whole time doing something in the computer, trust me, you are taking like 7 times less than it will be on a real painting, because you don't have to wait for the painting to dry. You don't have to blend the colors physically. You don't have to what's other thing. There's a lot of stuff going on in a real painting. In a real painting, you cannot crop the canvas or move things around. So it needs a whole lot more of patience. Okay, so right now I'm painting the occlusion, and I'm using the occlusion color from the palette of colors. The occlusion is just when two objects are very together, like they are really close one to another. They make this little shadow. If you if you if you take your hand and put it like in a fist, but left a bit of a space in your fist, you'll see that inside the hand there's all darkness, and that's not a cast shadow. It's just darkness because the light cannot get in there. And another example I can give you of occlusion, if you look under a car, even that the sun is up and you can see the shadow of the car, like the cast shadow of the car. Under the car, there's a little bit more of darkness going on. That's the occlusion. So that's the best example I can give you, like in physical, that you can actually see right away. But of course, there's the cool factor of the art, and you have some freedom. You have some artistic freedom. So right now, I'm just trying to take that occlusion color and use it again in other areas to put more darkness in there. Also, the skin works really different than other materials. It's so complex. So you can be a little bit more creative with it. I was actually distracted by all the reference that I was using, but it actually worked at the end. I hope any, I hope there's no girls like feel offended or something by this painting. Okay, so now we're going to work on the tan and skin tone changes. What about that? Well, the tan, I thought, of course, every skin has a little bit of tan, so I thought it was important to explain how to make this part. Um, if you have watched the other tutorials, you'll see how I put the noise texture on the on the layer. I put it in the mask of that layer. You have to open the channel window, the window of the channels of the layer, and you can paste the noise texture. That noise texture you can find it on the additional content, the exclusive content. It's not like a really difficult to do. You can do it yourself, of course. But if you want to use that same one that I'm using, just get the exclusive content, and that will be it. And there's a little tutorial also of how to use it. It's not like a secret, of course. You can watch. There is another video, the one of the male chest, male torso, and you can see how I make this, how I do this, how I put this noise texture onto the layer. Okay, so basically, the tan thing is just painting some tan color that I grabbed from the palette, where I think that the skin should be burned by the sun, because we are burned by the sun every day, even that you don't notice, even that you don't go out too much. You have like a difference of color on the. You see your arm, the top part of your arm. There's one color, and when you turn your hand up, there under the arm there is another color, totally different color. So that's because of the tan. It's like a tan over all the years of your life. There's also I have another color there that is the skin tone change, and I'm going to use that one in the places that the sun doesn't get too much, like under the arms, and between the legs, and on the breast. Is totally different color for the skin. Now we're going to be making the highlights. Okay, the highlight is like the shadow part was really important, like really important that you get it right. But the highlights are evenly important. I don't know how to say it. Like they have the same value in importance. The tan doesn't add too much. It actually makes it look cooler, but nothing is more important than the shadows and the highlights. These are the steps that are going to make you start seeing this material as it's actually going to work at the end, because at this point, if you do it yourself, you will be thinking, okay, this is not looking like a skin at all, and you have to be patient to get the result. Right now I'm using the noise texture again. How I said before, you can get it on the exclusive content, or you can watch how I use it on the other tutorial, the one of the male chest, the male torso. And if you feel inspired, you can create it yourself. It's really easy. You just have to grab a bunch of pictures to make a really a texture like with little points, little dots that looks like noise, like that noise that you get on the TV when there's no signal or something. That will make you the texture of the skin, because the skin has little dots. So we are using that mask, that texture on the color that I'm using for the highlights. That is also on the palette of colors. It's not completely white. Look at it. It's more like kind of a flesh white color or something. So when we use completely white, it's going to be because we want to really get intensity in those highlights. Okay, important. The highlights need to be kind of like, how do I say that? They cannot be even. They cannot be common on shape. They have to be different. Like every one of them have to be different. You cannot repeat the pattern, because the skin is not perfect. The pose is not like straight. The light comes from one place, and stuff like that. Everything is like mix of ingredients, and all that makes the highlights look totally different ones from another. So you really have to be able to see what's going on under the skin. Like, okay, if here is a muscle, then the shape of the skin should be kind of like this, and you see that on the understanding of the shape. And if the shape is like this, how does the highlight should look like? That's the stuff you have to think about. Okay, right there I'm just using 20%. I wrote it there so I don't forget. But it's not like a secret. If you guys see all my tutorials, you know that I always do like use like 20 or maybe 40% of the opacity. That's actually the reference that I use for the line art. Okay, this part is like really important. Doing that highlight there, doing that little highlight there between the chest and the breast gave it more realism than everything that I done in the entire body. So I got really inspired because I never thought that the skin blending that way will make a highlight look like that. I don't know if you guys understand me. Um, but that's what I want you to really get in your mind. The highlights are not like, because what I've seen when you are starting to paint is that um, when you are like a beginner, you make this, and I did this myself. And I'm not saying like you do it because you're a beginner or a rookie. I remember I was one once. I still learning, of course. I'm not like a expert or a pro or something. I'm just saying that when you are starting, you see the highlights like they have to be round or they have to be this shape. You have like a concept in your mind. You have to erase that from your mind and starting to see the how the to understand how the highlights will look like in some areas. So if you look at the leg, you'll notice that the highlight is not even. It's not constant. There's a little difference in there's a variation of color. There is a variation of shape. All the stuff you have to put into your painting. Remember that while I'm doing this, I'm also learning too. Um, I try to do these ones because I had to understand a better way to do a skin than the first tutorial that I had. Okay, so notice how I put more intensity in that part, but left the other um, without any change. Okay, and there's also another factor, which is the detail is little, also the highlight has to be little. So at the end of this video, like in the final stage, we're going to concentrate on some little highlights, like in the belly button, stuff like that. Um, it makes a huge difference. It makes a huge difference. So now this part is about to end this stage. Okay, so here look at the shoulders. Um, if you were doing it like, if I was starting to in digital painting, I would think that the shoulder should have just one specular, one highlight instead of two highlights like I just did in there. Um, it's because what I'm telling you, you have to like stop thinking of the way you're doing right now and analyze what's going on there. If you touch your shoulders, you see that there's bones and stuff inside, and all these shapes makes it look like that. Of course, depending of how much flesh there is, how much muscle there is, all the stuff is you have to think about too. But that's what I'm telling you. You have to keep all the stuff in mind. And the chest is like this shape in the middle, like a kind of a um, hole going on the chest. That's it's really cool to do to do the highlights like I just did in there. I never thought it was going to look like that at all. And there's also, you can see how where the leg bends. I did something in there with the highlight that looks really cool too. It's like the shape. There is a change on the shape that I really liked. Okay, so now we're going to the bounce lights and reflections. For that, we're going to use I put it a reflection color. Of course, the reflection color can be any color, like depending on the environment that you are in. If you are like in a jungle or a wood or something, you should use green. Most of the cases, depending on where the place is, you can use different kind of green because it's basically the bounce light on how the skin reflects some other of the lights that are going on the environment or uh, yeah, it's like the skin is reflective just by the way it is. Um, it doesn't have to be like oil or something, as somebody told me on my Facebook page. It looks like it's oil, yeah, a bit but because of the specular, not too much because of the reflection. Um, if you were doing like something in the beach or something like that, you will have a lot of bounce light from the sand. So you should have like some sand color, really bright coming from the bottom and towards the the head. You could use kind of a really light blue because of the sky. So that's the stuff you have to think about when you make the reflection of the light. If it's a dark place, you shouldn't have too much reflection, and you can use this kind of result, the one without of the reflection when you're doing or something like dark, like something or like a thriller painting or something like that, or it has to be like really dramatic. So I don't know what else can I tell you about the reflections. It's just that they are in there. You do it in another layer, and you can then change the opacity of the layer. You don't have to make that because what you want to do is save time. Um, so if you do it in another layer, you don't have to control too much of the opacity with your own hand or with the strokes. You can do that, and you can think, okay, if I do this like this, when I change the opacity, it will look awesome. So try to use that at your advantage. Even that I told you that you cannot complain about how much time you spend. This is a huge advantage that digital have instead of traditional. And of course, I'm not saying that traditional is bad. It's just that you have all these tools, you have to use them. But don't use like the real big shortcut, like smoothing everything with a blur. That's really lazy. Come on, guys. You have to work on the paintings to make it look cool. You don't want the computer to control the painting, because what's going to happen is when you use another program, you won't be able to achieve the same result. Okay, so what I'm doing here, I made a little file with some freckles, some imperfections and details and stuff like that on. So I just copy it and paste it here. Of course, you can do like I'm going to do now. You can do some of the detail by hand. There's no problem at all by doing them by hand. But just to help myself and help you guys if you want to get the exclusive content, there's this file with little freckles, details, pimples, beauty marks, stains, stuff like that. There are not like a lot, but there are a few ones that can help you to make a little shortcut the painting process. There I had a little mistake copying the layers, but I fixed it really quick. You can notice how slowly it's getting to look more like a skin than it was at the beginning. Now we're going to work on the backlight. So the thing about the backlight is, you know that your light is in the back at one side, normally the opposite to the key light, and the to make it look cool, what you gotta do is try to bend this light, or try to understand how it will react to the skin in some areas. It's going to be different in others, uh, and to make it more intense in some parts, like this part is less intense because the skin turns this way, so it doesn't receive too much of the light, and this part is more intense because the light is actually hitting harder, not because of the shape but because of the direction of the light and stuff like that. All if you combine all these ingredients, all this thought, you're going to get a really cool backlight effect. So backlight can be any color too, of course. If you're doing a sunset image or something and it's against the light, you could have like orange backlight. And of course, all the that will mean that all the other ingredients are different, like the reflection color and everything. But the shadow and base color could be the same. Okay, so what else can I say about the backlight? Well, there I copied the layer. I copied the layer because I wanted more intensity in general. Um, and that little circle I did there was to kind of had the idea of what area should be a bit more intense. What I'm going to do now, which is the final stage, you should you should think of it like it's the last part of a race. This is the final effort that you're going to make this painting look cool. So for example, here I'm going to do this is what I'm telling you about the little highlights and details. If the shape is little, you need to have little highlights. Right there, I'm trying to make little shadows, little difference on the skin tones for the shadow, and right there I'm painting kind of like a little highlight. Here I'm trying to make it don't look even, so I'm putting little difference, little shapes inside of the highlight I already made. And this randomness, this little effort makes it look a lot more realistic, a lot more cooler, because it actually looks like there's something going on inside of the skin. So that's what you should focus on. Here I do the same with the. I'm trying to put like this little backlight there because of the muscle, and notice that I'm not using the full color of it. I'm using like I took like a half tone between the skin and the full intensity of the backlight. Right, that I'm doing the same. I'm just trying to achieve a randomness, and that little effort is going a long way. It's going a long way. Of course, you're going to make mistakes. I'm actually doing one now. Right there, it looks like there's an alien going to come out from the belly. So there, I think later I'll fix that. If I didn't fix it, oh my god. But I think I later I'll fix it because I don't remember looking it like that at the end. This is actually recorded like weeks ago because I haven't too much time. I'm kind of in a big move right now in my life. I'm going to move to another country, so it's kind of stressful weeks. So I haven't got too much time to sit on to the tutorials. Okay, so there I'm trying to make softer some of the shadows that I think are really hard. So that's the main thing that I'm doing there. Okay, so now just trying to blend stuff. You can use the smudge tool too, though. There's no problem at all in using the smudge tool also for the blending part. And then I'm trying to put some reflection on the edges because the skin is really complex, so to have some reflection on the edges too. And I think it looked really cool. I'm not saying anything because I don't think there is anything to be said. It's more of the same that I was telling you about. So basically, just cleaning stuff now, trying to make it look more pro. Okay, so basically just trying to put more definition on things, like getting some shapes to look a little bit better. I'm trying to put little reflections on some places that I think it need to be. Between the breast is one of the key places where you put reflections because they are so one next to another. They are so one next to another that they reflect the light each other, and it's going to sound weird, but the light bounces all over, like more than just one time. Right here, I thought that it was looking too. This was looking too much. How do I say this? Like it was looking too desaturated, so I use another color um, to give it a little bit more of softness in the path between the highlights and the skin. What happens? It looks like it's overly tan, like it has more tan, or it's just a weird skin tone. But at the end, with some color changes that I did, it's going to look much better. So these two colors are obviously going to be add on the palette. It's just that at that time I didn't know. As I'm saying, um, I'm actually learning at the same time that explaining you. So in this part of the tutorial, I'm realizing some stuff. Like, okay, I'm getting to another kind of result, and it looks good, different from the male torso, but the male torso also looks okay. But this one is looking a bit more, I think, more kind of fleshy, like natural. So I'm liking this one better. It's not like the other one is bad. It just has another level of detail, another level of another step to work on. Right there, as I um, some of the highlights got a bit washed by this new color. I'm trying to put more intensity on the parts that already are, and I think it looks awesome. Looks way better because it gives that little difference on the skin tones. that look more natural, in my opinion. But yeah, right now it looks really orange, really over tan, and it's not going to change until the end. I made some adjustments. The adjustments are not hard to do though. Just try to put your effort in understanding. Okay, what changes could I add to this thing to make it look even better? And just go to image adjustments and change the saturation or a little bit, or brightness and contrast. When it's too much contrast, it doesn't look too great. Doesn't look too great, but it doesn't mean that it has to look bad if you use a high contrast. And I was about to do the whole thing like black as I did on the back tutorial, but I thought no, let's have a little fun and let's make the bra and the panties look a bit more awesome than the back tutorial, the gear back tutorial. But yeah, this is now it's turned into another thing completely. It's not about the skin anymore. It's more just concentrating on the underwear. So I understand if you guys don't want to watch this part, but please don't forget to check out the video of the magazine that I put on. It has some tips on how to become a great digital painter. Mostly some kind of routine that you can do to improve your skills. Um, you don't have to follow like every step of it, but if you do, I promise you, like in 1 year, um, maybe depending on how much effort you put and how much accurate the information you are using is correct. In 1 year, you can have like great results. Like you're gonna be a completely different artist in just 1 year time. I think it is important that some people just realize these are mostly a routine to help you understand that it's just about the time you put into this thing that is going to help you increase your level. So there's this little magazine, and it comes with videos. It comes with the male face video and the female face video, and some liners for you to practice, some the all the palettes of colors, all the references. What else? There's a lot of stuff really interesting going on in that magazine. So I really hope you like it. Okay, that technique I used there, I put the color, then I turn it down with the adjustments, um, and then using the Dodge tool, I got the brighter tone. Now I'm just putting some shadows on it. It's really easy to understand. It's really easy to do. Just use a darker color because I believe that the every time I say I believe sounds like the intro for my tutorials. Um, I believe that if you work from darker to brighter is actually easier. Um, well, I'm contradicting myself saying this because I started this tutorial with a middle tone, but it's just in this case. Just in this case because the skin is like another completely different kind of material. But I do believe that if you start the the things with the darker color, you can you can work faster going brighter. So well, it's just a thought I wanted to share. And well, you can see right there's a clear example of the blending by repetition thing. Yeah, looks the you can see even you can even see the steps going on in there. So okay, this part was actually more like trying to achieve a matte result because it's clothing. I wasn't too concentrated on making like look like real clothing, but because it's a skin tutorial, I shouldn't focus on getting a realistic clothes because that would be a clothes tutorial. But I think it came out okay. But you can actually see some pretty cool stuff that I'm about to do in a few seconds. Uh, for the for the highlights, I use a little purple color, and that gave it a totally different look. Notice that it looks like a really weird material. The obvious thing to do will be to use white, but if you do these little things like make it, well, it's not white, it's a little purple. It's going to make you a more cooler result than just use white. That's what I wanted to actually see in this example that I'm doing right now. Um, the highlights, if you do the highlights in different colors, well, it has to make sense somehow, because the highlight is really going to sell the material. What's the how is the material composed? Like if it's really sharp, is it matte, is it hard or soft? So using this difference on intensities and in colors is going to make you achieve another completely different result that if you were just using white for everything. So using um, white color for the highlights on everything is a really amateur rocky look, and we want to get over that. We want to start painting like pros. There's a little examples in my magazine of what to do and what not to do to make it look like a pro. It's actually called like that. Where it's something like what a pro does and what a pro doesn't do, something like that. And you can see these little examples, and you will notice there are some of the people some of you guys don't do it, but there's people that do those things, and they're going to see, oh, okay, I see the difference now. So it's a real comparison between what a rookie does and what a pro should do, and you can achieve this result. You can achieve this pro looking thing. It's just a matter of time. It just take practice. You just don't you have to stop thinking like, okay, I'm not good at this. No, you're not good at this yet. You will be good at this. It just takes time and takes practice. Now the thing is, are you ready for this? I mean, are you ready for take the next step to become a good digital painter, a great digital painter? And trust me, believe me, you can achieve this result if you want. Okay, so now, sorry for the little speech. Now we're going to be making these little dots. I think somewhere in this in a few seconds, some little dots in the clothes. Oh, and these little lines that I'm doing help you kind of sell the texture of it. Like, it's not plain, it's not plastic, it's not. It has some little detail, so we have to be somewhat something else. Okay. Remember that is what you see from the far that is going to sell the image. The most detail that you put on is going to look completely different when you see it from the far, and that's what we want. Okay. we want to make it look interesting from the distance. When you see a real painting, a traditional painting hanging on the wall, those little details, when you see it on the wall, it looks like just a stain of color, and that's it. It's just a stain of color. Just from the far, it looks like a tree. It's so cool that you can achieve that. Here, I wanted to put a little belt for the stripes because, how I'm saying, if you look it from the far, it looks like more real because have little details. If you look it in really close, okay, it's just a stain of color that is in there. So I really hope you understand this concept. So now I'm just doing little dots to make it just little points. Sorry, I got distracted by something, and I'm also drinking coffee. So just little points to make it a little more fun. I kind of got carried out by these details of the painting. I think I'm going to go ahead and paint more of this stuff. Okay, so right now I'm just cleaning the edges, which is really important. When you clean the edges of your painting, looks more looks like it has more definition, looks more clean, looks more finished, and that's what we want. We want to make it look more finished. Unless you're doing it on purpose, like the look that you want to achieve needs to be this way. It needs to be dirty. You can leave the dirty edges. So that's what we need to concentrate. You want to make it look like really like a pro will do. You have to keep the the edges clean. Sometimes I left the liner though. It's not have to be like perfect, completely perfect, because at the end is your painting. You can do whatever you want with it, but there is some of the stuff that you cannot like just left it there. Like a really hard line art or stuff like that. So well, now I'm just trying to sell the image, and I'm putting a little effort on the background, like just a color to make it pop up from the background. It was too saturated, so I open image adjustments and put a little less saturation on it. And also I'm going to do that. I'm going to do the same with the painting itself. It's too orange right now. It's too orange and it needs to look more realistic. So I turned the skin color down using less saturation. It makes it look more gray, but it looks a bit more realistic to me, a bit more believable. And I also changed a little bit of the contrast, brightness and contrast. So there we go. This is our result. Okay guys, please don't forget to check out the content, the exclusive content of the magazine. And thank you very much for watching this tutorial. You guys are the best, and really believe me when I say I believe in you. You can achieve great results. So don't forget to write me, don't forget to comment. I'll try to be always there. I'm recording new videos while answering the questions, so you guys understand how busy it is to answer the question, but I do want to answer them all. So thank you very much for being so supportive. See you guys next time.